At my son's graduation, I stand up and give 18 years of my life to another man.
What? What are you doing?
I'm leaving you. I've given my heart to him.
And I accept it. We're in love. This can't be happening, not here!
It's over. I'm sorry.
At my son's graduation, my wife stood up and gave 18 years of my life to another man, in front of everyone, in under 2 minutes. I did not yell. I did not cry. I just held a blue folder on my knees and waited, because I knew something she did not know yet. By the end of that speech, she was going to lose everything. If you like stories like this one, hit subscribe. You will not want to miss what happens next. Now let's go back to the beginning. People who met me thought I was the quiet one, the forgettable one, the dad who carried the bags and never said much at parties. That was the trap. That was what everyone believed about me. They were wrong. My name is Preston Wade. Before my son was born, I was an architect. Not famous, but careful. I stayed late to get every wall right. I believed a building should never lie about what it was made of. My family had money before I did anything to earn it. My mother ran the Wade Learning Foundation for 40 years. Real schools, real scholarships. When she gave it to me, she did not explain the rules. She just trusted I already knew them. Then my son Caden was born 6 weeks early. His lungs were too small for the world. That first year, I told myself I would only stay home a little while, just until he got stronger. My wife Kayla was building her own company. Big meetings, investors, magazine covers with words like she has it all. So I stayed home instead. I packed lunches. I sat in waiting rooms. I stayed up at 2 a.m. with a sick kid who just wanted a hand on his back. I told myself this was teamwork. It was not teamwork. It calcified into something else. Something with a shape neither of us said out loud. And somewhere in those years, Kayla stopped seeing what I did every day. Then she started telling people a different story about it. Kayla was good at stories. I had watched her turn a room of skeptical investors into believers in 10 minutes. She could find the spine of any story and hold it up so clean it looked true. The story she told about our family went like this. She built a company from nothing, raised an incredible son, and carried a husband who never found his footing. She never attacked me out loud. She just made me sound like furniture. Comfortable, present, not interesting. But her company was not built from nothing. The startup money came from my mother's estate. The building where she held her first investor meetings belonged to the Wade Family Trust. The scholarship network that made her company look credible had existed for 40 years before she touched it. She knew this. She used to thank me for it. She stopped thanking me the year Trent Ashford walked into our lives. I met Trent at a fundraising dinner 3 years ago. He was Kayla's new PR consultant. Smooth, quick smile. The kind of guy who makes you feel like the only person in the room. I shook his hand and forgot about him. That was my mistake. Over the next year, Trent kept showing up. School events, dinners that used to be just family. He was not introduced to Caden once. He was slowly built into Caden's life, piece by piece, until it looked normal that he was there. By the time Caden turned 16, Trent had known him for about 2 years. 2 years. That number matters. Remember it. Caden found out first. He did not tell me right away. He was 16 when he saw a photo online. His mom and Trent at a resort 2 hours outside Denver. On a night she told us she was presenting to her board. He walked into the kitchen and held out his phone. No words. I looked at the photo for a long time. Then I looked at my son, who was trying so hard to look calm that it broke something in me. I'm glad you showed me, I said. I'll handle it. None of this is your fault. He nodded. He went to his room. We never talked about it again that night. I was proud of both of us for that. But something in me had already changed. I had access to the family accounts. Not because Kayla gave it to me. Because the accounts were legally mine, set up that way by my mother, long before Kayla ever thought to check. When I finally looked, I found things I should have found months earlier. Consulting fees paid to Trent's firm. No paperwork explaining why. A downtown apartment lease, paid through a foundation account. Travel bills labeled professional development. An expensive watch, bought on the foundation's card. And the worst one, money from Caden's own scholarship fund, quietly moved into a media campaign that Trent ran. I sat with those papers for 2 nights before I called our family lawyer, Paige Sutton. Paige had worked for my family for 19 years. She spoke slowly and never wasted a word. When I told her what I found, she went quiet. Then she told me something that changed everything. Caden's 18th birthday would trigger a change in the trust. A change Kayla had apparently never bothered to read closely. Her control over the money had always been conditional. It only existed because of the marriage, and because Caden was a minor, and because the original documents had one clause buried inside them. Any proof of financial misconduct would cancel her access completely. The transfers to Trent's firm were not confusing. Paige said they were enough. Starting the morning Caden turned 18, I would become the sole trustee. Kayla's signature would mean nothing on any Wade asset until a full investigation was finished. I did not know this until Paige told me. I do not think Kayla knew it either. When I told Caden some of what I found, not all of it, just enough, he listened the way he always listened. Still hands. Steady eyes. Then he told me something I did not know. His mom had asked him to sit next to Trent at graduation. She told him it would mean a lot to her. She also mentioned, gently, that it might be nice if Caden thanked Trent in his speech for his guidance, for helping shape him into a man. Caden looked at me and said, "I'm not doing that, Dad." I asked what he wanted the day to look like. He thought about it. "I don't want it to turn into a fight in front of everyone," he said. "But I'm not going to stand up there and let a lie just sit there. Not that lie. Not in front of everyone I grew up around." He said it quietly. No hesitation at all. Something loosened in my chest that had been tight for years. I decided not to confront Kayla before the ceremony. My first instinct was to sit her down privately, show her the papers, force her to face it before anyone else saw. But I thought about what would happen next. She would call her lawyers. She would rehearse a new version of the story. She would show up at graduation with an explanation already polished, and I would show up holding evidence that had somehow already been talked away. There was another option. Kayla had a speech prepared. Caden found the draft and showed me. In it, she named Trent as someone who helped raise our son through the years that mattered most. Trent had known Caden for 2 years. I could let her say it, out loud, in front of every parent, every teacher, every person who had watched our family from a distance for 18 years. I could let the lie reach its full height, in public, with witnesses everywhere. Then I could stand up, not to humiliate her. I want to be honest about that. I spent 11 days making sure that when I stood up, every single word I said could be checked by anyone in that room. School records with my name as the only emergency contact for 18 years straight. An outside auditor's report on the foundation, delivered to the board that same morning. Every invoice from Trent's firm, with no work behind it. I put the blue folder in the car the morning of graduation. Trent found me before I even sat down. He stood close, like we were just two dads having a friendly chat. Then he said maybe it would be easier for everyone if I accepted that Caden needed a different kind of role model now. He said Caden deserved to see what real success looked like, up close. I asked him 2 questions. Do you know what medicine Caden is allergic to? The one flagged in red on every form for 18 years. He said nothing. Do you know why he quit baseball at 13? Not because he wasn't good. Because of something that took months of hard conversations to work through? He said nothing again. I told him, calmly, that showing up in photos is not the same thing as raising a child. Then I walked to my seat. I did not feel like I had won anything. I felt something colder. This man had never once tried to actually know my son. He had only tried to fit himself into a story about my son. Those are 2 very different things. The ceremony went on. Diplomas were handed out. Caden walked across the stage, shook the principal's hand, found my face in the crowd, and gave me a look that was not quite a smile, but close. I see you, it said. I have always seen you. Then Kayla walked to the podium. She talked about balancing work and motherhood. She used the word sacrifice a lot. People near me wiped their eyes. She was good at this. She had always been good at this. Then she asked Trent to join her on stage. She held his hand and told the whole auditorium that no parent can do it alone, that Caden had been lucky to have someone who guided him and helped shape him into the man they all saw today. She said Trent had been there through the years that mattered most. The room applauded. Phones turned toward the back row. Toward me. I stood up. I did not rush. I picked up the blue folder and walked toward the stage at the pace of a man who had already decided something and was no longer in a hurry about it. The room went quiet the way rooms do right before something breaks. Kayla saw the folder. Her face changed, like a light switching off. She knew exactly what was inside. I took the microphone. I said my wife had just thanked a man who had known our son for 2 years. I said I had brought the records from the 16 years before that. Kayla recovered fast. She told the crowd I was upset, that I was embarrassing our son, that this was just a bitter husband who never accepted her success. Trent stepped forward and said the payments were legitimate, documented, appropriate. I opened the folder. I did not talk about the affair. I gave facts. School records, 18 years, my name as the only emergency contact, every form, every allergy sheet, every permission slip. The auditor's report, delivered to the board that morning, showing scholarship money moved into Trent's firm with no work to show for it. The apartment lease, the travel bills, the watch on the company card. I said Kayla missed Caden's 13th birthday because she was at a resort with Trent, and that I was the one who had to explain to a 13-year-old why his mom wasn't at his own birthday dinner. Kayla said I never contributed $1 to this family. I said the building where she held her first investor meetings had belonged to the Wade Family Trust before we even got married. I said the scholarship network that made her company look credible had been built by my mother 40 years earlier. I said that starting that very morning, the morning of Caden's 18th birthday, I was the only trustee left with any authority. She had none. Silence. The kind you can feel on your skin. Trent turned to Kayla. I watched his face move through confusion, then math, then something close to fury. He had been promised the company, the apartment in his name, control of everything after the divorce. None of it had ever actually been hers to give. He stepped toward the edge of the stage. I told him calmly that his name was on receipts pulled from an education fund, and that whether he knew where that money came from would be part of the investigation now. He stopped walking. Kayla turned to Caden. She asked her own son, in front of his whole graduating class, his teachers, his coaches, everyone he had grown up around. She asked him to stand up for her. Her voice cracked. It was the most honest thing she had said all day, and it was painful to watch. Caden stood up. He walked to the stage without being asked twice. He took the folder from my hands and held it for a second before he spoke. His voice was steady, not because he wasn't feeling it, because he had already done the work of understanding it before he opened his mouth. He said the person who raised him was the person who knew he couldn't sleep during storms. He said it was the person who sat outside a hospital room for 2 nights straight, without being asked to stay. He said it was the person who taught him that being a man has nothing to do with money, or whose name is on a company. He looked right at me. My dad raised me, he said. No one clapped. The room just held it. Kayla reached for his hand. He stepped back, not angry, just quiet and certain. He stood next to me instead. I didn't put my arm around him. I didn't need to. We were just 2 people standing side by side, which, in the end, was the most honest thing we had ever been. I handed the microphone back. You had every right to leave the marriage, I told Kayla. You did not have the right to give 18 years of my fatherhood to the man standing next to you. Then Caden and I walked off the stage. We did not look back. Someone recorded the whole thing. By the time we stopped for coffee on the drive home, it had already been shared hundreds of times. I didn't watch it. Caden watched it once, phone tilted away from me, then put it in his pocket and never mentioned it again. The part that spread the fastest was not the affair, not the money. It was 6 words. My dad raised me. People clipped it out on its own and passed it around, like it didn't need anything else to make sense. Maybe it didn't. 2 days later, the foundation board held an emergency meeting. I wasn't in the room, but Paige called me after. The auditor's report had already been sent to every board member before the ceremony even started. There wasn't much left to debate. Kayla was suspended as CEO, pending review. The speaking invitations stopped. The magazine features stopped. The version of Kayla that had existed publicly for a decade, the self-made woman who balanced ambition and family, did not survive contact with what was inside that folder. Trent left her within the week. He had built his whole future on things she never actually owned. When that collapsed, there was nothing underneath strong enough to hold him there either. He moved to another city. His clients did not follow him. I sat in the kitchen that first night after graduation, the folder still on the table. I didn't move it. I just sat there in the dark, thinking through every choice that led to that auditorium. I chose to wait. I chose the most public moment possible to take apart my wife's whole world. I told myself it was about the truth having witnesses. I believed that was true. But at 2 in the morning, I also wondered if there had been a version of that day where Caden just got to walk across a stage and feel proud, nothing else. Where the day belonged only to him. I never found a clean answer to that. Some questions don't get solved. You just learn to carry them differently. The next morning, Caden found me in the kitchen before I'd even started the coffee. He sat down across from me, the folder still between us. He told me I hadn't broken the day. He said his mom broke it the moment she decided to use his graduation as a stage for her own story. What you did, he said, just stopped that story from becoming permanent. That's different, even if it happened in the same room. He said it plain and steady, the same voice he used at the microphone. I moved the folder off the table. We didn't say much else. We didn't need to. The divorce was filed 6 weeks later. I didn't try to take everything. That was never the point. I asked for the misused money back and for Kayla's resignation from the foundation. In exchange, I didn't go further, and I didn't talk to any reporters. She'd lost enough. What was left of her name was hers to rebuild, or not. She moved into a smaller place across town. She started seeing a therapist. Caden told me that much, quietly, months later. I hoped it was helping her. Not just for Caden's sake. Because she had spent so long performing a version of herself for other people that she'd lost track of what was actually underneath it. That kind of reckoning is hard. It might be the only way through, though. Caden left for college that fall. He called every Sunday night, no matter what, walking back from the library, sitting in the dining hall, waiting on a friend. The calls were never long. They didn't need to be. The real message was always the same. Asterisk, I'm here. You're there. We're still us. Asterisk. I went back to architecture that January. I thought it would feel like starting over. It didn't. It felt like walking back into a room I'd left in a hurry and finding it exactly the way I remembered. The first project I took was small, a community center for families raising kids with long-term illness. I took a lower rate and told no one why. Through the foundation, I started something new. A fund for parents who had put their careers aside to care for a sick child and had nothing waiting for them once those years were over. Dads who stayed home. Families who just kept showing up, year after year, without anyone clapping for it. No fancy name. Just an application, a review, and money that reached the people who needed it. A year after graduation, I was invited to show my work at a small design exhibit. My piece was the community center, drawings, a scale model. I stood there for 3 hours talking about light and walls and what it means to build a place where people feel safe enough to fall apart a little. I put one photo on the table. Old. A little blurry. A nurse had taken it years back and thought someone should keep it. Me, asleep in a hospital chair. 5-year-old Caden curled against my chest. My shirt a mess, my hair worse. 2 nights in that chair, and it showed on my face. No one gave me an award for that night. No one wrote about it. It just happened quietly, the way most important things do, because something needed doing, and I was the one there to do it. After the exhibit closed, Caden showed up. He'd driven down without telling me. That was always his way. Arrivals over announcements. We stood in front of the photo together for a while. He told me he'd just turned in his first big college essay. He told me the title, The Parent Who Stayed. I didn't ask what he wrote. I already knew, because I had lived inside that story for 18 years, and he had lived inside it too, from a different angle, and somehow we'd both landed on the exact same understanding of what it was worth. He put his arm around my shoulders, tall enough now to do it easily. We just stood there, looking at 2 people from a long time ago. You can take the stage. You can take the microphone, the applause, the story the room walks away believing. But you can't take the nights. The quiet ones. No cameras. No one watching. Those only ever belong to the one who stayed. And they always will.